All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the good old Jordan Stupar Show. You've made it to a great place to talk about business, sales, entrepreneurship. Happiness is what I usually include sometimes in that category. But either way, on this show, I've got an unbelievable guest joining me here in a moment. He is an absolute veteran and a rock star in the housing industry. And we'll obviously dig into all of that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring him on. This is going to be a great episode filled with a lot of brilliant gems. And I'm hoping some good entertainment, some good laughs, some good stories, so on and so forth. So I'm going to bring him on right away. Here we go. And we've got now Mr. Cesar Moscarro Jr. Cesar, how's it going, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Now that you're here, I appreciate you joining me here today on a wonderful Friday here in January. How's 2022 starting off for you?
2022 has been great so far, man. You know, just got back from the Christmas vacation with the family a couple days before New Year's, and that was a great time. So now just hitting the ground running, man. Got big goals, big dreams, and got to make it happen.
I love it, man. Where did you go for the Christmas vacation?
We went to DC and New York. We spent 10 days. Yeah. We spent 10 days over there, and hit up both places. We drove from DC up to New York. So I told the family, you know what, we're gonna go to Philadelphia because we're gonna drive right by it. We picked up a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, ate outside, took pictures with Rocky statue, and headed out.
There you go. I mean, that's definitely something worth doing while you're up there.
For sure.
The cheesesteaks are definitely one of a kind up there. So obviously you're on the Jordan Stupar Show. And I think one of the main reasons is, one, you're a client of ours, but I think most importantly, you're a go-getter, dude. Like, I've been watching you over the last, I don't know what it's been, 8, 9, 10 months that we've been kind of working together. And, I check you out on Instagram, and, you're grinding hard, and you are the general manager of a manufactured homes store, I believe you would call that, down in Texas. Tell the audience or the viewers or the listeners a little bit about kind of what you do right now with Titan Factory Direct.
Sure. So as you mentioned, yes, I'm a general manager there. Have been in that role probably about a little over a year and a half, somewhere around there. I've been in the manufactured housing industry for this summer will be 11 years now.
Wow.
But I've been in housing since 1993. So yeah, I'm an old fart. Just, it's different now because like I tell my guys, man, the industry is so different even from what it was 2 years ago before the pandemic. But not just from the sales side, but marketing and everything. So I love it, man. I try and stay on top. I appreciate the kind words of how you describe me, but I will tell you this, man, I haven't always been that. And that's where regret comes in, right? Because I'm freaking 49, man. And we were talking earlier on a call we were at. You was like, man, by 40, 45, I wanted to pull the plug. I was like, fuck, I wish I could have done that shit. Might have just been smarter.
I feel you. And, I'm almost 35 now. I just hired at the time 19-year-old, and it's like, dude, I burnt through so many years myself. So like I get it, But so, all right, obviously a lot of the audience here, they're tuned in for some sales, some business, some marketing, so on and so forth. The thing that I definitely want to hit on right off the rip, since you kind of mentioned it, is you've been in the housing industry now since 1993. I was 6 years old at that time, and you were in the housing industry. And me, one of my little taglines that I've been using for literally, the better part of the last decade is sales has evolved. And obviously you were selling homes, I mean, pretty much prior to the internet. You now have social media. Like, when I say sales has evolved, that's a massive statement for 2022 back to 1993. What would you say, outside of obviously, the internet, and social media, what would you say have been some of the other most significant changes that you've seen in that industry in being able to, help somebody purchase a home?
Yeah. So the main thing that I have seen, man, is has to go to the quality of the product, honestly. It When I started in '93, my whole thing, I fell in love with housing when I was in high school. My sophomore year, I took a drafting class, and I was just hooked. So architecture was my thing. I went to school. I went to UT in Austin for a couple of years. Bailed out of that, but because I found out, man, I can't do much designing, so I decided to concentrate on structural engineering. And so when I got my feet in the door with a company designing, I was doing frame designs for homes, residential structural engineering. And it just, what we were building back then is a whole lot different from what it is now. And the materials are much better, with engineered materials. I know some people still, you'll get the guys that, man, no, you can't beat a 2x4, standard 2x4, 2x6. I'll take that over any engineered piece of wood nowadays. Man, I don't know. I tell my wife all the time, I was like, man, I wish I was 20, 22 right now. Not because I want to be young, but because I love technology, man. I love progress and just seeing the way how much things are better now. It blows my mind. So to answer your question, long story short, just the quality of the product is the main thing. And then obviously, when you get into the sales process and marketing, all that's completely different. Yeah, for sure.
100%. And, I think there's another kind of back end question there, because I think obviously technology exists to make all of our lives easier. That's the premise of software, hardware is to, help us out, give us some tools. But do you think that where we're at right now in 2022, and maybe even moving forward, do you think that technology could end up being the culprit for making some of our lives a little bit more difficult as, business and salespeople?
That's for sure. There's always that other side to it, right? To the coin. And I do see where it creates a lot. It can create a lot of uncertainty because there's so much out there and it's at your fingertips. It's right here where I'm talking to you, man. I'm in the middle of nowhere in Texas here, and I can be live on the Jordan Stupar show, and you're in Wisconsin.
Yep.
It's crazy from my phone. So that very same little item that's sitting right here in front of me, man, can distract us so much, can just offer so many different options for marketing, for the way you do your sales process, everything, that you can start to second guess yourself. Like, am I doing enough here? Am I doing enough there? And you spread yourself too thin, and then you're not making any sort of impact.
Yeah, that's a fact. And I mean, yeah, the distractions that come along with just owning a cell phone. I mean, the cell phone to me, I believe, is like a nice money maker, right? Because I've got a computer right here. I can reach people from making a post or whatever. But at the exact same time, I believe the vast majority of people just end up scrolling and being consumers. And I think that there's a lot to be said about if you want to use social media and technology as an advantage. I'm a big fan of being a creator. And it doesn't necessarily mean being like you have to make a really nice looking movie, or it's just being on there and maybe sharing a story or being able to do some of the things that I've mentioned with your team that I see Brandon doing pretty well with, posting some videos about some of the products that you guys have, so on and so forth. So I think that it can be there can be a bad part about social media, about technology, if we don't really use it the right way. And I think it opens a lot of doors for the people that are going to open those doors anyway. So I like that. And one other thing that I kind of read on your little bio that you kind of sent over, something that I might want to talk about. And this is I'm going to position this question a little bit differently, because I am also a musician and a bit of an artist. I am adamant about the fact that music and kind of the artist side of me has definitely empowered me to do some specific things, either sales and business wise, that most people that don't maybe necessarily have those characteristics or those traits, it's allowed me to do some really kind of cool stuff and kind of take a unique approach sometimes to what I do. I know that you're an artist at heart. It says here that you had a band for 10 years. What type of band, what type of music, what type of instrument did you play? I want a little bit of the background here.
Yeah, man. So I I grew up around music all the time. My dad played. My dad was a waiter, right? But my dad played in the house band at the restaurant at night, and so he was a guitarist. And so I play rhythm guitar. And I had this band. I was actually a lead vocalist and rhythm guitorist.
Lead
And yeah,
vocalist.
man, that's
You can
right. There's
sing?
honey. I tell my guys, there's honey in this voice. No, I'm just serious. No, really, what it is, man, it's so I had this band, is a rock band, transitioned into we became a cover band, man. We traveled all over, you know, playing different spots. We from all throughout San Antonio, Austin, played in Houston a few times. We got the privilege of actually getting to the point, man. We were actually sponsored by Coors Light for a few years. When Katrina hit, the Saints were playing in San Antonio. They were using the Alamo Dome for their home stadium, so we got to play for one of the Saints games. You know, so it was a lot of great stuff. It was cool, a cool environment and cool atmosphere, but it does definitely help out. Now, I've done stuff when I was a kid that helped me with I have no stage fright, man. You can put me in front of a stadium and I'll go out there and I'll fucking do whatever I got to do. But it definitely helps out with doing stuff like this, sitting in front of customers, videos, posting. It is what it is, right?
It's easy. You're just creating something. You're getting out in front of somebody, and that I think as a performer myself, I had a band. We weren't as big time as you, getting sponsored by like beer companies and everything. That was the dream, right? But I think that definitely helped my ability to jump on Facebook Live and talk about my products, my business, whatever. Because, dude, I've already been heckled a little bit. I've always dealt with this insecurities of, are they going to like this song? Did I hit that note? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I definitely, I had no idea about that, about you. So you're a rhythm guitar player, you sing. Have you ever written anything? I'm curious to find out.
I wrote a couple songs, man, years ago. Never did anything with them. Never showed them to anybody. That's the part of me where I haven't gotten to. I'm brave enough to put that out, So
I got it.
They're stored somewhere in my garage, man, somewhere in there.
Well, you're going to have to release at least one of them, and we'll have to have a listening party, and we'll have to give you some honest feedback. How about that?
Yeah. It's been I've got an 8-year-old boy now, so it's been 9 years since I stopped the band.
Okay, yeah. It was a song about anticipating a baby or something. That your adult life is now over. That's
gotta take it seriously now.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I'm at. So I'd love to hear that song if that's what it's about. But I know that you also wrote down, and this is not shocking to me, you being, a general manager at a multi-million-dollar business, is that you're a constant learner, an avid reader is what you said. When did you get started with that? Because everybody, I feel like for the most part, except for some of those freak show high IQ people that were like, we can't get along with because they just like came out of the womb with a book. When did that kind of start for you where you were like, I'm going to start reading, I'm going to start putting some attention on learning?
Yeah. I'm going to say probably about, I started to dabble in it maybe 6-7 years ago as of recent. And that's because, going back to the point where I brought up, but man, you don't want to waste time. That's my only regret, is being where I'm at right now. I should have been here a long time ago. But that's because of me, who you surround yourself with, where I came from, the backstory to that. I'm first generation American. Both my parents are from Mexico. So I was born here in the States, raised for the most part in Mexico. But where I grew up, probably the poorest side of San Antonio. I went to school in the poorest school district in the whole state of Texas. So it's not something that was pushed on you, right? You were just lucky to get out of school. It's like,
right.
So, and so getting out of school, I never really understood what it was for personal development, growth, certainly not money, man. I mean, made a shit ton of it, but I went right through it just like that as well. I've always been good at making money, but never really making money. So about 6-7 years ago, I finally said, something's got to change. And I started really diving into that, learning, going online, especially now that you got access to everybody, and really trying to pick that up, man. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it because of what I saw myself becoming, which, now I owe, or I feel I owe it to not just my kids, but anybody around me, to just pound their head with that stuff and, wake up. This is the real deal, man. You can be a 1%er. It doesn't matter where the hell you came from. You just got to put in the work, and you just got to learn. You don't have to be, you're not born into privilege. You can get there.
Yep. That's a fact. And, despite, I think, the two of us having maybe different upbringings as children, I wasn't raised in Mexico, and I went to some pretty nice schools. The point that I can bring is, I dropped out of school. I went to the fourth best high school in the state. It's a place that costs a bunch of money. My parents wrote that check, and ultimately, biggest waste of money they could have ever, because I didn't really care. I just have never been interested in the collegiate approach to life and go get a job and a 401k. And I wanted to be a famous musician. That was kind of like point number one. And then I got into sales, and I started realizing, like, dude, I don't need a communications degree in order to go knock a door or make $1. So I dropped out. And for me, schooling and some of that privilege that I did, was brought into the world with, that was a total waste. And, I struggled a lot. I ended up in a lot of poor situations. I ended up being horrible with money, making a lot of horrible decisions. And then it became apparent to me at the same time. It's like, okay, I'm going to start reading. I'm going to start learning. I'm going to start figuring this out. And, my parents have never written me a check, ever given me $1, bailed me out of a situation on my, the last couple decades of, entrepreneurship and everything. And there's a lot to be said about what you said about, dude, anybody can be a 1%er, anybody. And I that really resonated with me, because I was kind of born into some top end type stuff. But I was never really given anything. I just forwent everything, or whatever you would say. And had to go from the bottom to the top myself. And that's exactly what most people have to do. And I can also agree with you that, everybody can be a 1%er.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's where I feel I'm at in trying to influence people around me with that, and to make them understand. And sometimes it's frustrating. I don't even know. Can I cuss on this thing?
It's frustrating as fuck trying to inspire even one person.
Oh my gosh, it is, man. And it's even more so because, like a Brandon or a Katie at my office, they're all mid-20s and 30-year-olds, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to save you 15, 20 years of time, so you don't have to be at my age and just figuring it out. But it's just, growing up where I did, like I said, it wasn't taught. We didn't know about it. I always swore to myself, man, I'm going to get myself out of here, and I'm not coming back. Not anything against, if any of my boys see this, not because there's anything wrong with where we grew up, man. It's just, I don't want to go backwards.
Yeah. And I think that, it kind of goes back to some of that Tony Robbins stuff, where, like, pretty much every decision you make is either, for the gain or to avoid pain. And I think that one of the biggest motivators for me is experiencing a comfortable life, then kind of walking away from it, and understanding how uncomfortable life can be, kind of when you decide to do your own thing or start from the bottom. And when you're there and you're able to even get a little bit out of that hole, dude, going backwards becomes a zero option. There's another great quote that has stayed with me. I forget who said it, but a luxury once experienced becomes a necessity. The first time that you fly instead of drive, you're like, dude, I'm never driving again. The first time you're in first class, it's like, dude, I'm never sitting in the back of the plane ever again. And, you know, I think for you, when you're starting to make some of that money and you're starting to climb, you know, it just, you can't go backwards. And then you're acting with urgency. And I know this as a leader in my business as well. Sometimes you have more urgency for other people to do well than they have urgency for it. And that's what's frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I tell them, you know, and so that's one thing about me is I'm very blunt, and I don't pull punches. I tell them exactly what I'm feeling, thinking, everything, you know. And I always tell them it's never personal, it's always business, right? And I tell them it's just, it frustrates me that I want it for you more than you want it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I felt that way many times myself.
yeah. So it's just not realizing, like you said, they just haven't experienced those things in life yet. You know, had the opportunity to buy something a little bit nicer, have a little bit better entertainment. So what they feel right now is that's what I'm used to, man, and it's good for me. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
However, when you're that close to being able to have so much more, but you're not achieving it, it just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy because I've done that shit. Even up until now, man, I'll tell you, Jordan, I really don't think that I am anywhere near where I need to be. But I think up until the last year and a half, man, I squandered away so much potential because I wasn't one of those guys that was urgent about it. I didn't get things done when I should have gotten it done at that point in time. Even at 46, 47 years old, man, I was still kind of procrastinating and this and that because I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm not talking, I'm not trying to make my head any bigger here, but I'm a pretty smart guy, and I've always just done enough. You know, if I saw myself in a situation, I knew I could get myself out of it, and I'd work, get myself out of it, whether it was educational, whether it was work related, whatever it was, I could always get myself out, and so I always relied on that. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I was talking to two of my guys at the office because we were talking about making phone calls and how to make phone calls and the mindset of customers. But then I told them, look, man, there's a difference between being a hustler and having hustle. I said, I grew up as a hustler. You know, I could fix shit. I could get myself out of stuff. I could, you know, go work something real fast and make the money I needed. Hustler. But having hustle, man, now I realize that's just working, learning, growing, moving, doing what's got to get done so that you never, ever have to worry about a damn thing.
I love that. I've actually never heard anybody say that. And it makes total sense when you said it. It was like, oh, dude, I wish that was my line, you know, because it's true. You know, you either have it or you don't. And I'm still kind of in a point in my life where I'm trying to figure out, is it really so black and white? Or they're just people that are unwilling to do the work? And are there people like the two of us that are going to get up and get it done? You know, I still haven't decided whether or not, you know, that's a predefined condition in life based on, you know, your genes or whatever. But do you think that you can, as a leader, as another individual, do you think that you can really inspire other people to develop hustle versus just kind of getting work done when they need to get work done? Like, do you think you can develop that discipline, that mentality of getting it done every single day?
Man, I really think it comes down to there's got to be an aha moment somewhere along the line to where you decide to open yourself up to that. I think everybody can. Not everybody does. Obviously, we know that. But even those that are around people that can teach you, show you, and all that, doesn't guarantee those people are going to become that, because they got to have that moment that says, fuck it, man, it's time. Enough of this. It's like Tony Robbins says, right? You're not going to make a change until you've felt enough pain.
Facts.
Once you get to the point of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's when you decide that's it. And you know, for me, really, I think when it happened was I'm going to define my defining moment. I think was March 2020 when it came across that everything's shutting down. Everything's shutting down, and I just freaked the fuck out. I was like, what's going to happen? How am I going to provide for my family? People, you know, people couldn't drive anywhere. The streets were empty. They couldn't come to the office. And I thought, holy crap, now what's going to happen? And I just said, you know, screw it, man. We just got to work that much harder, and really dove into it. And just, I made more money that year with less people coming in than I ever made in my life. And that was still as a salesperson with Titan, because I had just been with Titan for about a year. I'd been somewhere else for 6 years prior to this. So, and I think that just was my moment to say, man, you cannot keep yourself in this situation. You can't keep, it's one thing for me, but I put my family in that situation, you know, and my family's been through a lot because of me. As great as a guy I am. No, my wife is probably gonna watch this and be like, "Oh, this motherfucker." So there's been two things, man. In 2018, I had to have a carotid tumor taken out of my neck.
Wow.
So that kind of put an end to my singing career there, because I don't have the same pitch I used to have. But so I was down for like 3 months, man. And we lost everything because it's sole income. My wife, we've got a total of 5 kids. 2 are out of the house already, luckily. And then we still have 15, 8, and 4, right? And so we lost everything, house, cars, the whole works, man.
Wow.
And they stuck with me. My wife stuck with me. I could have sworn, man, this is going to be the end, you know? But no, and worked our way out of it. But then in 2019, I had to have brain surgery because I had what's called trigeminal neuralgia, and it's like the trigeminal nerve. It just has false senses of pain that shoot through your face. I've been dealing with that for like 10 years prior, and finally in 19, it was just every day I just had the pain. I couldn't deal with it. I'd be talking to customers, and my eye would just start watering from the pain.
Wow.
Walk outside, the sun hits, you flinch, and it's just crazy. So I had that done, and it just, then March, I had that on my birthday, November 22nd of 19. Then in March of 2020, man, we got freaking Corona, and I'm like, that's it, no more. I am not doing this to my family anymore. And you know, made some changes and went from a couple hundred, you know, to where last year, I mean, this calendar year is just shy of 500,000.
Amazing.
In personal income, you
Amazing.
know, and it's got to go from there, man. Got to keep building.
Oh yeah, dude. That's you know that's why I like doing these things with guys like you. It's like I liked you. We were you know, good friendship or whatever, good client base, whatever. But it's like, dude, hearing that story. I mean, damn. You know, when it rains, it pours, right? It's not like you just had the artery thing and then just had a pandemic, or you had the whole eye thing that you were mentioning. It's like it all happened what in 24 months, or
it's all a span of 2 years, man. 2 years.
And that's the way.
And that's why I tell. That's why I tell, you know, my kids, you know, and my wife, like, man, you guys have been through it all with me. I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah. And I don't want them to go through it. So like, I'm trying to pour into my boys also, like, dude, y'all need to get on it right now, you know, so that you don't have to be in this situation for you and your family, whatever you decide to do in your future. I want to be able to, because I'm about to hit 50. I'm like, you know, I got a 4-year-old, and yeah, people sometimes think I'm his grandfather, which I want to just punch him in the face. But so I want to know, man, because I'm finally at the point where, yeah, okay, I know I'm mortal. I know what's going to happen in the future. So I want to be able to rest assured that my boys can take care of themselves and that they're set up for themselves. Not that I'm going to leave them millions. That's not the plan. I want them to work for what they got.
Yep.
That's what I want to do. That's how I think I'm going to do better for them, is to teach them the things that I've learned, but at a much younger age. Be that person I didn't have to teach them about how money works, how this works, how that works, how you can be better. How, man, my wife will kill me for saying this. You don't want to go to college? You don't have to go to college, but your ass going to work. You
Yep.
know,
Figure it out.
and as long as you got the skills to be able to take care of you and yours, that's what's important.
That's 100% correct. And I think we're on the same page there. I don't think that, outside of maybe becoming an attorney or a doctor or, one of those an engineer, something like that. I think college is an absolute just total sham and a scam. And I think it's a horrible institution of education. I think that you can learn more. I think out of high school, everybody should have to spend 1 year doing two things. I think that 6 months they need to serve tables. Go to Chili's, TGI, I don't care where you're at. You need to go serve tables so you can learn some courtesy and some respect for the people that serve you. And the second thing that you need to do is go pick any product, I don't care what it is, and you go door to door with it for another 6 months. And then literally if you can do those two things and you spend a year of your life doing both of those things, I think you can go out in the world and pretty much accomplish damn near anything.
Yep, that's right.
That's what I believe. Now, one other thing that I kind of want to hit on before I have to wrap this thing up, because I know we both have plenty of other things to do other than talk to each other today. One thing that I definitely wanted to hit on is in what you kind of typed over to me. You talked a little bit about leadership and that the world is deficient in leaders. And you've been hitting on some of this stuff, talking about your personal story, what you've been able to accomplish, what you've been able to overcome. And a lot of those are personal decisions that have no doubt impacted your family in a positive way. But talk to me on the deficiency of leadership and maybe even strong men here in America, 2022.
Yeah, man. Boy, where do I start with that? So one thing I think we all, somebody like yourself, anybody in a role like what we're in, we have a huge responsibility, especially as males, like you mentioned, to be leaders, and not just lead, but to show other people how to be leaders. Because we are deficient in that. So many people, everybody's just sitting back and waiting for somebody to do something, whereas if we were just as, when we were hunter-gatherers, man, it just had to go out there and take down the lion, take down the elephant, whatever the hell it was that was going to feed the family. You just go out and do it,
Yeah.
Reading about like the Spartan culture and how they, introduced the teenage boys into manhood, and, or the Aztecs. Just go back in time, man. That's just the rite of passage, right? One of the great people, man, that I follow, that I really try to pay attention to, because there's so many out there that really speaks to that, is Bedros Keuilian.
What did you say his name was?
Bedros Keuilian. He's out in Chino Hills, California. He's got started in the fitness industry. He's got a company now. It's called Fit Body Boot Camp that they open up franchises around, and he does a lot of other stuff. But he's got a book called Man Up, and he's got a program called the Squire Program that is for boys from 12, I think it's like 12 to 15 years old, where they put him through a whole weekend, his dad and son, of just doing shit that's gonna get you, to understand what it is to be a man. It's not a macho thing. So any ladies that watch this, is not about being macho. It's about just, and that's the role we play. Not to say you can't do it. I was raised by a single mom. I tell everybody, my parents got divorced when I was 7 years old. I love my mother to death for what she did, the sacrifices that she made. My mom worked her ass off for me and my younger brother. She did. And I'm blessed because she, because of the situation we were in and growing up where I did, being poor the way we were, I had to work, man. I was 10, 11 years old working to help out with some money at the house. And seeing her work, that's where my hustle comes from. That I just got to work. I got to get it done. I got to get it done. So I thank her. I'm grateful for her for that. But back to what I'm saying is, we're the men, and we've got a responsibility to lead and show other younger men what it means to do this, because we all work together. And I just feel if we had that again, man, this country would be so much better. Society would be so much better. There'd be a lot of less insecurity, uncertainty about who's going to do what. And are we just sitting back and waiting? You know, again, no action, nothing gets done.
Wholeheartedly agree. And I don't think I could say it a whole lot better myself. I think the only other thing I can kind of add on that, which you kind of touched on without using the word, is just personal responsibility. You know, like I think we live in a really soft culture these days, because us men and women, of course, everybody, we all have access to, you know, healthcare and running water and stuff we take so for granted. Like you don't know what you're missing until it's gone, when like you're out of hot water and you got to take a cold shower. It's like most people bitch, moan, complain about that, when, I mean, dude, that's how people did it for hundreds of years, you know, before we had water heaters, whatever. But the point is, you know, I think it's okay to be afraid. And I think one of the other things that people don't want to take responsibility for is their own fear and insecurities. You know, you jumping into sales, you losing all your cars, your home, all your money, the things that you had worked diligently to provide for with your family. I can't imagine how terrified you were of waking up that next day and being like, dude, I got to start from zero. Everyone's going to leave me. I'm worthless. I'm blah, blah, blah. I can't imagine what went through your head. But you know, I want to let everybody know that I get just as scared and afraid of anything that I have to tackle as you probably do. If, you know, Armageddon happened and all the lights, you know, went out, and it's like, and I had to go out and hunt, like, dude, I'd be terrified of going and hunting, gathering, you know, figuring that out. But like, it boils down to the personal responsibility that as a man, as a leader, and as a person, whose responsibility is it to go out and hunt? You know, who else is going to do it if not for me? And so I think it boils down to a lot of personal responsibility. And right now in society, I feel like, dude, you know as well as I do, with employees, customers, and just watching the news, everybody wants to just point a finger and say, dude, that ain't my job.
Yeah.
That ain't my job. I don't need to do that. I got hot water back at my mom's house.
That's right. That's right. And you know, that's one of and you'll see when you have your baby, okay, it's tough, man, because you always want to make sure your kids have more and better than you. And then you get in that dilemma of, well, do I make them do the work?
Right.
Because they really don't have to.
Right.
And I've done that for a while, man. And just recently, over the last couple of years, when we lost everything, and thank God that I grew up the way that I did, where, yeah, I was worried, I was nervous, but I've always been a mentality, man, I just got to suck it up. I got to get it done.
Yep.
You know, and so I just went back to work the next day and just started up again. Right. But, you know, so with my kids now, it's like, dude, y'all know, I know we can get somebody to do it. You're fucking doing it.
Yeah.
So you got to learn what it means to work, because I'm not always going to be here, and you may get yourself in a situation where you're going to have to do it. And I don't want you sitting there paralyzed, not knowing what the hell to do.
100%. 100% comes down to that personal responsibility of, you know, another one of my favorite little Jordan Stuparisms is, you know, it's never about what happens. It's about how you respond to what happens. You're in control from that moment on, regardless of whether you were in control of what happened to you. You get to respond and figure out how you're going to address that situation. And you can either, succumb and crawl up into a ball and die, or you can get up on your 2 feet and get to work. So I love your story, man. I'm really happy that we were both able to take some time out for this and learn a little bit more about what you do. Obviously, for anybody listening to this, if you happen to be in Texas, specifically San Antonio area, definitely go stop by and say hi to Cesar and his team at Titan Factory Direct. They will definitely hook you up with the best home that you can purchase. Make sure to get some equity, keep it within your budget. But for those of you that also want to maybe follow Cesar, message Cesar. And by the way, I would definitely follow him. He's going through the 75 hard program right now. It doesn't look like he's having a hard time. He looks like an inspirational guy. And obviously he's got a hell of a story. Cesar, where can people go to connect with you and find more out about you?
Right now, probably the best place is going to be Instagram and that's my full name, Cesar Moscarro Jr. Easiest way to find me on any Titan Factory Direct stuff, man. I'm probably somewhere on there as well, so you can find me there. But Instagram's probably the best place, and so that'd be cool. But I will leave with this, man. We have the responsibility, like you said, the personal responsibility as leaders to be influential to anybody and everybody around us. We can't hold back punches. And sometimes I know it comes across harsh. Even my team, my kids, my wife will be like, "Why are you so hard on them?" Because here's the thing: the people that I've learned the most from are the ones who were as direct as possible with me. I really feel like, especially right now with my at where I work, I'll say it. I wasn't putting everything out that I could have been, and I got called on my bullshit, from one person specifically within the company. And this man, I mean, just multimillionaires done it in this business, and he just called me out. It's like, I know who you are. I know you failed to do this, and you failed to do this, and you're probably going to fail at this, and you lost this because of your fault. Until you fucking realize that it's you, Cesar, you're never going to change. And it just, rather than get pissed off, I was like, wow, this is like, that's true. Bitch, it is me, So ever since then, man, that was my aha defining moment. So for those of you watching this that are close to me, man, if I tell you the truth, it's just because I love you. Because I know that this man would go run through walls for anybody. He did it for me. And that's what we owe you, Jordan, all of us that have influence over people. That's what we got to do, man, to help these people get better.
I love it, man. And I think that's dude, that's everything for everybody. I think if we can, I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't have 1 million followers. I'm not, influential. It's like, dude, does anybody follow you? It's like, yeah, 23 people. It's like, good. You influence 23 people. Be a good inspiration and help these people get places. And with enough of that, you will get 1 million followers because everybody will be inspired and influenced. So it's just, do what you can do today. And, as the Bible says, tomorrow take care of tomorrow. Yesterday's already done. So just do your best today. And so, Cesar, I appreciate you being on the Jordan Stupar show. I think it might make some sense to have you back on in a little while to see how things are going with you and obviously your kids, your business, so on and so forth. But I definitely appreciate you. We'll have you on again anytime you got a standing invite. And with that, guys, I appreciate everybody joining us. If you enjoyed this, then go ahead, leave a comment, subscribe, message Cesar, let him know he did a good job, give him some hand claps, go give him a follow. And otherwise, of course, leave us a little bit of feedback on how we can continue providing y'all with some value. So I appreciate you guys. And that's it for today. We're going to wrap up and head out of here. Cesar, great chatting with you, sir. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Likewise, man. Have a great one.